Um, why don't we go ahead and introduce our first company. We have, as it says right here, Nicole, Dery, and we're just going to call you Ozzy. Is it Genis?
Yes, it's Genis.
Genis. Okay, good. I got that right. And then the judge will be Albert Myles, and I'll take my video down so you can see what they're showing and doing, and we'll get on with the show. At least I think I will. Let's see if I can figure it out.
All right. Can everyone see my Google Chrome screen?
I can.
The SAP. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm so excited to talk to you all today. This site really thrilled me from the jump. So I'm really excited to get to talk about this site. My name is Albert Myles. I manage the knowledge management program at Red Hat, and I like to say that I like to try to capture all of the information out of people's heads and put it in a way that we can share it with others, and so that we capture everything that we need to know to keep operational. So today I am going to do a walkthrough of the SAP for Me site from SAP, and I was honored to be able to judge this site, and I think that you all are going to be excited about some of the things that we'll share here. One of the first things that I want to point out about this site is that it operates a lot like an app, and I think that's because it is an app. So and Ozzy and Nicole, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but it looks like it's one of their internal apps, and they leaned into it and turned it into a web app. You have you have everything that you need to manage your account, to manage your activities, to look for the information that you need. It's all here in one place, and it's organized and it's fantastic. There's dashboards everywhere. It's relatively easy to find everything for the most part. Easy access to casework and KB content. And so I just want to kind of start walking through some of these menus and pathways with you. You'll notice here, so this is what happens when you first log in. You've got just a basic dashboard that shows you all the favorite things that all the favorite pieces of content that you've favorited over time. What's happening, the hot news areas here. You've got some things like if you've separated out your SAP notes and KBAs, your favorites, getting started areas. You've got case information down here. You've just got all of these things, license keys. It's all in one dashboard up front. And it's a little bit overwhelming at first because there's a lot of information here, but if you spend a little bit of time with it becomes very intuitive really, really quickly. So you've got all kinds of things here, but even better is you start breaking down into the separate dashboards. So if you want to know your financial info, you can come here. If you want to talk about what products and portfolio products and things like that, you've got here. And then where I spent most of my time was in the services and support area here. And so then you've got systems and provisioning and users and contacts, so where you can manage all of your accounts and things like that, which is an important thing for judging. So if you're starting at the services and support tab, so you've got the overview tab here, where so it's just another like services and support specific information that you want to go through and take a look at. Now, so any kind of upcoming calendar events that you've got coming up, like and you've got things like my favorite SAP notes and KBAs. So one of the things that I like about this is that I did do Google searches, and it was interesting how a lot of the stuff it does have entry points into the system from external, which is really helpful if you didn't want to start here. If you wanted to start in a search engine elsewhere, it becomes pretty easy to come in. Now I'd like to talk about content just a little bit. So I'm going to call on Ozzy and Nicole here to kind of help me understand. We do have the two main content types are SAP notes and KBase, and then there's some links to like compliance and things like that. But I would like for one of the SAP folks to can you give us an overview of what's the difference between an SAP note and a KBase, because they seem to kind of overlap, but I don't really. I would love to know the theory behind the two different content types that are appear here. Could one of you give me an overview?
Yeah, so simply put, SAP notes typically involve some sort of a code change. They're more technical in nature, whereas KBAs are knowledge-based articles that are kind of like a question and an answer. So that's the basic difference between them. How we got those two things set up as those specific objects a million years ago, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, this is like the main. I mean, for someone like myself internally, I think of it all as knowledge. It's just all knowledge, right? But we do have these separate objects, the KBA and the note, and it's just the way that people use them, search for them, filter for them, favorite them. So it helps the users who are specifically interested in code corrections or updates that are code related. They can find those really easily.
So I will say that SAP uses KCS, so they utilize the KCS methodology, and so that'll come up later when we start talking about site measurements and things like that, and performance and stuff like that, and like lifecycle management and stuff like that, because KCS is a very solid methodology that a lot of support organizations use. So the KBAs, I'm presuming, are created using the KCS process, which is,
Yes.
which lots of points there. Um, all right, so I'd like to let's just walk through this services and support area. So like I said, you've got the overview dashboard here that just kind of gives you an at a glance look. I love the news feeds down here and stuff like that. So your knowledge search. So this helps you, just like you want to search across the different repositories of content, different content types. So it's just your typical search engine result page setup. I mean, if you go to any given company, a lot of them are going to have something similar to this, but you can narrow it down. If you just wanted to search documentation or search community, you can do that here too. It's nicely organized. I really appreciate it. The search engine results are good. So you've got a nice search engine result here, so you can kind of see some pretty good metadata into the result, so you don't always have to click in. So you click in and you can see, a typical article, but their articles are nicely laid out. No, not a lot of fluff, but you can see your different metadata pieces, so components and things like that. It goes to the different areas automatically. So your typical knowledge base article here. So you go back here to this screen, and so then you come over here to the KBAs and notes. So this looks to be a listing. Nicole and Ozzy, correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems to be just if you wanted to see it all and like manage it. So if you wanted to say, hey, I wanted to search by component or type, and I wanted to do mass changes to my responses, it just seems to be another listing instead of just a search. It's more like a list of all of the content that you can filter here. You can take a look at your cases, so you can do your case management. This is something that is very difficult to do, and you all did a really good job of setting it up, and that you can go into your individual cases and manage them and see everything that you've got going on. Service requests. So could one of you give us an example of the difference between a service request and a case?
Yes. So service request we use specifically when customers are requesting like some cloud services, that type of thing. And I will admit here that it's a goal of ours to harmonize those ticket types, right? Because overall, I mean, there's always an opportunity to make things simpler for the customer. I would say this is a place where we could do that in the future. But today, the service request is more geared towards specific types of services and specific types of requests for cloud customers. And again, those are handled differently than cases, for instance. And a case is just, anything basically, like I need help with SAP for me, or my product is doing something strange, just somebody looking for help in general.
That makes total sense. So what I really like about this site is that you can manage entitlements here. So I'm guessing that this is something that really helps your customers manage the people that are actually able to access the content and stuff like that. So sort of almost like user management and like, who has access to which products and things like that. So from a software as a service type point of view, that's really cool that you can manage that straight here. I mean, it's all here in one large dashboard, and that's very cool. And then diagnostics, reporting, lifecycle management, and then just everything is all in one place, and I love that a lot. So I'd like to go through a little bit more about back into the content over here. Let's come here and let's take a look at our content. What's really good is that you've got lots of different languages here. So this is a pretty good, lots of multilingual. And what I like most is that SAP, you all use machine translated. Like you're using everything's translated using machine translations. So that means that you'll be able to, especially if you start integrating LLMs, you'll be able to go up to many more language types. So, right now we have you at 9, I believe. You'll be able to, if you start using like large language models, you'll be able to relatively easily go up to different types, and that'll even make your score even higher, which is, you already had a great score, so that'll make it even better. So I love the fact that you've already moved to machine translation instead of the really expensive other types of translations. I want to talk a little bit about the personal content portability. What I loved was that I was able to log into this site from a mobile phone, which the layout was fantastic on the mobile phone. I was able to log into any other device, and all of my preferences came with me. And it sounds like that's table stakes, especially if you're using things like Google or Facebook or something like that. But it's a little bit more difficult to do than a lot of people understand. So that it's really good that you all did, and it was literally flawless. Like I went through and hammered through it, and I couldn't find any problems with it. And again, I think that a lot of that is because you all leaned in to the fact that this is an app. This whole site is an app. It's not like a bunch of HTML put together, or it's not a bunch of JavaScript and stuff like that. It's not based on Drupal. It's not based on Joomla. It's not based on any of these other platforms. This is your app, and so that means that it comes with all of the greatness of managing your users, managing your processes, managing everything. And I really am impressed that you leaned into that, and it's really exciting. I'm kind of jealous, to be honest with you. It's really cool the way that you.
In fact, Albert, just to add to this, it's an app application that is built out of SAP technology. So it is actually an SAP app that we leverage here for our processes with regards to support and customer engagement. What you see here is indeed an SAP application. So
That's excellent.
You're right.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm a big fan, to be honest with you. So, I love that you can, you can go into your cases here. So let's kind of go back. I can go to your cases. So, if you go into a case, you can do things like managing escalations. You can search for things within the case. So I do all of my case any kind of case management activity that I want, and I can do here. You can look at your action plan, what's coming up. You can look at, what appointments to check. This is really cool. That having the calendar on here is really, it's a lot of fun. So you can see your escalation levels, and so that's really cool. And that actually gave you a lot of really great points in the judging thing. So again, the site works really well on the iPhone and the iPad. I tried on both. It worked in different browsers. I didn't find any problems there. You've got federated search. You got federated search, so you can search across your cases, across the KBAs, across the SAP nodes. Everything is federated. I noticed that it even included some other things. I can't remember what they were now. I love that so let's talk about your site management and ongoing development. You all have a really good plan about how you manage your site using metrics. I think that that you did a really good job of saying this is how we use our stuff, and a lot of your metrics can come because it is an app. So that stuff is collected, in your logs, I'm presuming. But you laid out a really good plan of how do we improve our performance going forward. You did your work with research. What are the standards in the industry, and I would like for you, if either of you have an opinion, anything to say about it, I would like for you to kind of give an overview of how you use KCS and how you use it for management of your site and with your metrics and stuff like that. Do either of you have anything that you'd like to say about that?
Do you mean specific to knowledge, or just in general, the site management?
In general, because I noticed that you do use some of the KCS metrics in your
Yeah.
in your site. So it's not just for knowledge, but it's also for site
Yeah.
performance and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give 2 cents here, and then I don't know, Ozzy, if you want to add anything from your perspective, but you're right. We really do lean into feedback, right, from our customers, because they know what they think better than we do, right? So that's the place to go. And we collect feedback a lot of different ways. Customers can just click a feedback button and send us a note if they want. We have regular surveys. We have a UX survey that goes out a couple of times a year, which measures ease, effectiveness, and emotion of the customer. So we have kind of that lens that we look through. We have some of the more common type of, and I've read a lot of the essays from previous winners, so I know that other companies do this, right? But we lean into things like the customer effort score and those types of metrics. We rate our KBAs, for instance, and we measure like self-service rate, which is massive for us, right? Because I mean, part of the reason that we even created SAP for me was to really like meet this demand of the growing cloud business, the scale that we've gotten to. We wanted things to be easier for customers. We wanted to harmonize some of our processes. So anyway, a lot of these metrics are what went into what goes into our regular measurement of how the site is doing, in addition to other obvious things like the traffic, right? Stuff that we're all measuring about our sites. Additionally, we've been looking also a lot at the customer journey. I think I heard somebody mention that word earlier, but the journey of the customer and actually following the user across the applications or across the websites to find out, are they finding what they need? Are they getting it quickly? Where can we make an improvement? And then finally, I would add that we have, we do have some dedicated UX folks and UX teams that really are continually trying to figure out, okay, what's the next thing we need to be focused on? And or where are our customers getting tripped up? Because as you can see, we have so much information. I mean, SAP is so massive and we offer so much to our customers from a product perspective that, you know, one of the challenges that we have is taking something complicated and presenting it as simple as we can for the customer. And so I would say we continue to try to refine that through our feedback and research.
Awesome. So one of the things that strikes me the most is that this is relatively new. So it's not like you all have been around for ages. Like this site I'm in. I mean, SAP has, but the site itself is relatively new. So this feels like a very mature product to me. And so I think I mentioned that when we, earlier, is that the fact that it's so young and the fact that you've got this and it's set up this well really speaks to the fact that you've been doing this kind of work for your customers for a long time. So why not lean into it and double down on it and use your own app to really kind of show, because it's very mature. It doesn't feel like it's brand new. And I was very impressed. And just a couple of more things I wanted to kind of show you all. So let's go back here. I want everyone to notice that, well, let's come here and these breadcrumbs are ever present. So you're never really lost. You can so you can kind of go back and you can always kind of know where you are. So that helps with navigation. And those types of things seem really small, but honestly, a lot of sites miss it, to be completely frank with you. And so this is great. The breadcrumbs are there again. So you come back, you're at home, and you've got the overview, you've got your calendar here, which is really cool. So you can kind of see, well, what kind of maintenance stuff is coming up? Do I have appointments with someone coming up? So all of that stuff's in there. And then you've got a whole set of reports. So reminder to everyone that SAP, a lot of the stuff is software as a service. So this reporting isn't just for, something like if you downloaded an app or if you're doing stuff like that. This is actually showing all of your services in one fell swoop. So you can kind of see, hey, I do know that I have this app running in Germany. And so, how's it performing? You can kind of look at the histories of everything. So, just fantastic overall. I wonder though, Ozzy and Nicole, is there anything that I've missed that you really want to highlight to everyone? Because this is a lot of stuff, and I just kind of went over the things that made me really excited about your site and the kind of things that I put in the judging notes. But I'm wondering, is there anything that you think that I missed that everyone should know about what you did? Because you all have done a ton of work, and it's really interesting being able to see behind the scenes of how it all worked together. So is there anything that you'd like everyone to know?
Maybe first of all, thank you very much, Albert, for the review already and for pointing out what you really liked and how we basically enable our customers to really get the most out of this platform. I mean, one additional topic is maybe that we not only provide the content to our customers, but also help almost on every page whenever our customer or the user might have a question about, what is this actually and how can I use it? We have an included inside app help that basically provides wherever you are, additional help content and also additional journeys or tours, if you want, how to set up a case, for example, right on the right side. And with this, basically, we try to support our customers using the app as well directly inside the app.
I completely failed to mention that part. Is that so? And that's actually one of the things that's very big in the judging is, is it can you find navigation help? And this is fantastic. I mean, so you this is Pendo and WalkMe type help through here. So if you ever get lost, it's there and it explains everything. Fantastic call out. What else do you have?
I would also mention, just because this homepage that you're on looks pretty busy from here, that this is a customizable landing zone. You can use the little tick mark. In the settings, you can set some preferences. And then also on that page, there's a little edit button as well. So just wanted to point out that you can go in and sort of change things, change that view and bring to the forefront the stuff that you use the most, however you wish. And I have to say, this is one of the things that we did is that I'm really proud of, even though you can't necessarily see it here. But it was a really big deal for us to move all of our users from the predecessor of this system, which was called the SAP One Support Launchpad, into SAP for Me. We did that in 2023. It was a massive undertaking, and we used some of the features here in the settings and preferences and whatnot to really map their usage to the new system so that they had the best, most personalized experience right from the start that we could offer them. So we're always striving to actually cut out the noise for our customers and personalize their experience as best as possible.
Awesome. I really love this idea. The customization, again, it's an app, right? So that's really cool. So what's next for you all? So what kinds of exciting things do you have planned that you can disclose to everyone in the world?
I mean, I can mention a couple of things that are like a little bit newer. We do have in here now, we've introduced this, we're calling it like preventative, proactive kind of support, which is that our support teams are able to flag any particular issues that might impact additional customers, or the system will automatically flag trending content. So let's say there's a node or KBA, and that KBA is receiving traffic that's dramatically more than others, right? Indicating that somehow it's really important or relevant to that moment. So we're exposing this type of content to our customers in SAP for Me so that so we can get in front of their issues, right? So it's the idea is to try to prevent their need to submit a case. So we're continuing to lean into that. And then, of course, I'm sure you'll hear plenty about AI today and for your next conference. But we've already implemented, when we launched SAP for Me, we also rebuilt entirely our case creation backend. And we did that for a few reasons. One of them is so that we could harmonize a whole bunch of different processes that we had inside of SAP, right, from acquisitions, acquired companies, and whatnot. So we were able to get all of our customers using one process instead of having to deviate to use, for different types of support. And so, yeah, I would say that in the Get Support application, where you create a case, we've implemented a number of AI type of scenarios where the form has things that are being filled out automatically. It will suggest to the user solutions straight away, like, hey, we think this could solve your problem. And we continue to lean into AI around self-service search and the case creation process. Sorry, one more thing I'll mention is in the case creation, the system will actually recommend the channel that the user can use. So maybe they're entering a problem and that would be faster solved by chat. So the system will say, SAP for Me will basically send them to chat, or if it's faster to use our Ask an Expert peer channel for getting an answer to the question. So I think those are some big areas for us. I assume for most companies are looking deeply into AI at this point, and we'll see what happens there. I don't know, Ozzy, if you have more that you want to add.
But I think you mentioned most important topics, obviously, but maybe the future lookout, how we envision SAP for me, mid and long term is kind of an all-inclusive app, right? In the app world, this term came up recently, right? And we saw a few apps in the world, like the ones in China, for example, or the other ones in other regions, including different types of tasks and roles together in one app, so that you really can perform everything you need almost from the beginning of your engagement with SAP up to the end, termination and more maybe, in one environment, so that you don't need to leave this environment, you stay in this environment, and you find everything that you need really in one environment, in one platform. And what I'm really proud of actually as well is what we have achieved. And I already mentioned it, this is a pretty new web application, maybe fully running for the last 2 or 3 years or even less. This is one of our this is one of our platforms with the highest engagement rates by now. We have, as you know, SAP.com, our front door, digital front door. We have SAP Community, our social media knowledge exchange platform, and now we have SAP for Me, which creates almost or as much digital traffic as the other platforms as well. We have over 200 million page views by now in this year. We have, I think, 100,000 unique visitors every day, and even growing. We have 1.5 million overall users registered to this platform, and even growing. So this is a platform really that is still growing, while other platforms are somehow staying at a certain level by now. And this will create even more digital engagement, more customer, or we will provide better customer journeys, digital customer journeys, and we will provide definitely here, as you can see, that's our goal, a superior support experience for our customers. So this is going to be our customer experience platform as well in the future, and hopefully it will create even more benefits and more digital self-services we want to provide, so that our customers even get better support from us. Make sense?
That's awesome. So I want to point out to everyone that, in their submission document, SAP points out that, they do extensive research, usability research, testing. They test, and these things are built into the way that they do their operations also. So they do all of their homework. They try to make sure that everything is great, is as good for their customers as they can get. But I'm going to put you all on the spot one more time. Are there any lessons learned that you would like to share with the group, just to kind of like, what would you do differently if you were rolling out again, or what kinds of things that you didn't expect to happen that happened, or things like that? Is there anything that you could share?
Yeah, maybe, and you said it already at the beginning. It's a lot of content, and it probably will grow. Or it will very likely will grow. And I'm thinking about the customer experience, right? And less is more sometimes. That's a difficulty that we still have, right? How to really bring things in a way together, and how to provide content and self-services to our customers that it's not too complicated. So we need to make it less complicated, I would say. And we're working on this every day, making it less complicated by bringing even more content together here.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's exactly the same thing that I would say. I mean, that's where we're always leaning towards, figuring out how to streamline what it is that we're showing to a customer, and trying not to overwhelm them, basically. So, so we'll keep working at that, I would say, over, probably indefinitely.
I mean, I'll say that the help is like really useful, the way that you have it interactive like this. The only thing that I could say is that if you had a walkthrough of some sort, like, say, hey, I'm brand new, and then, walk through, and that might be actually on there, and I just didn't see it because the user that I used had already been, a lot of this had already been populated, but that's the only thing that I could recommend. Oh, by the way, everyone, customizing the homepage, here's what Nicole was talking about earlier. So that you can put everything, so you can check off and put in things. So if you really wanted to break this down to just a handful of things, you can do that there. So that's really cool that you all give the option of doing that.
And it's recommending certain, we call these cards on the page. It's recommending certain cards to you based on the system knowing the stuff that you've done right in the past. So, or already recognizing what you might be interested in.
As for what kind of algorithm is it? So is it just saying because you used this in the past a few times, or does it have any kind of, like, what other types of users like you use? What kind of algorithm are you using with the
There's an onboarding process if you're new. If you're the first time at accessing SAP for me, then you walk through an onboarding process. You select your preferences, your role, and a few other information. And based on that, it provides you recommendations. And over time, it collects the cards that you mostly used in order to select and recommend additional cards to you in the catalog.
So again, and I'll just say this again, you all have thought of a whole bunch of different things here, and and as someone who's looked through a bunch of these types of sites before, this one is really good, and I'm very impressed, especially considering how young it is. Now, Al, I know I have 15 minutes left, but I really don't have much else to say.
Actually, you're right on time for Q&A. So let's, anyone, there is a Q&A button that you can push to get into Q&A, or if you're in chat, we will look for questions there as well. So let's give people a minute or two to get their questions put into the system. And I'll queue up a question while we're giving people a chance to type in, but SAP has been through this before, this process with ASP, but things have changed at SAP. It's been a few years, and the site has certainly changed. Everyone that enters this activity gets a confidential site report. Did you find this year's site report useful?
Yeah, so you will be happy to know that the site report was half the reason we applied. We did really appreciate the feedback we had in the past, and because we had just gotten all of our users into SAP for Me and using our new case applications, we really wanted the feedback. So yeah, it's hugely valuable. I mean, we took the feedback you offered, and in the report, I've got that in an Excel sheet. We have people looking at it. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's definitely worth it for the feedback, for sure.
Well, the report has actually grown in content since a few years ago. We've encourage our judges to make more comments, which the companies entering competition have told us are basically priceless. I mean, you can't get that kind of stuff from objective people that actually have enough expertise where their opinion is worthwhile listening to anywhere else. And it's just one of the things that I think is truly wonderful about our judges. they give credit where it's due, but they're also merciless sometimes in giving criticism where it's due. Right, Albert?
Yeah.
No, we love
Sometimes I
it.
felt bad.
We like that. We love it. We love it. All the criticism is super helpful, right? That's the nugget of information that helps us get better. So yeah, so we really appreciate all of the great feedback from you guys.
Okay, well, we have a bunch of questions queued up, so let me read off the first one. Our friend David Cabral at MathWorks says, I see you can search your community. Is there a clear distinguishing between the community content and support content? Is each its own content type?
Yeah, so community content is in its own sort of repository bucket, and it is separated. So I think the main reason we would want to separate that content into its own bucket is because that's where most of our customers look for the answer to how-to questions. So how can I do this or how can I do that? A lot of that's on the community, and we sort of train our customers to look there for those types of answers. So that makes it easier for them to find.
Okay, thank you. As you mentioned earlier, people can probably expect to hear a lot about AI today and even more tomorrow. But we have a first question about AI here. Can you give us more examples on AI? You mentioned providing solutions to customers. How about support engineers? So, does it work both ways?
It does. I will admit that I'm not a major expert here on the inside view, but we do have a lot of the same types of functionality that we offer a customer, we actually offer internally. So an example would be internally, the support engineer, the way that they try to find answers for customers is automated and has some AI behind it and helps them find like the best answers for a customer. That's an example. And also helps to categorize our cases and get them routed to the right place and with the right team. So AI is part of that as well. And I'm sure that there's more. I don't know, Ozzy, if you have any other suggestions, but those are some examples.
I mean, we use our AI assistant is called Joule. I'm not sure if you heard about this. And we started to leverage the Joule capabilities also for internal usage. Of course, we have an entire own large language model environment for SAP internal topics. That's one part where we also include AI capabilities, of course, for our normal tasks and work as well. And we will continue with different scenarios. We have a list of different scenarios, right? How to leverage these AI use cases, so to say. And every time when we develop a use case for customers, we of course also try to adapt this for internal usage and where possible. And where it makes sense, we directly integrate it into our internal processes as well.
Okay, thank you. We have a clarification question, I guess. Do you have a section for definitions of items, i.e. service requests versus cases, which you mentioned verbally?
That's a great, go ahead, Ozzy.
No,
So when we say, do we have a section, I mean, if the question is there a place in SAP for me that lists these things? Not necessarily in that way, but we do have help documentation for SAP for me, which would give some different differentiators between the two. So for instance, SAP for me as a tool has its own help, and all of these cards and tabs and dashboards are all defined there. So you are definitely able to get the details there. And then I would have to do a quick search to make sure this is true, but often that same type of information is available, let's say in a knowledge base article. So if somebody were to just search in SAP for me, they might find the answer to that.
Okay. Oz, you want to Ozzy, you want to say anything?
Yeah,
there?
just as we showed, as Albert showed, we have this inside help, and it defines basically the different areas, and it has every card has also, in addition to that, a 3-dot menu. Not sure if you have recognized that. If you click on this 3-dot menu, we have typically a section, what is this card about?
Mm.
And there you have the definition of the different elements that in this card, as we call those things card, are displayed or where you need or want to work with. And then you have a short definition of the content of this card available for the user.
Okay, we have time for more questions, and I do have one more at the moment. Sounds like you have a lot of content. Well, I think that's that's understated a bit, but what is your auditing methodology? That's the question.
To audit which part, if you can clarify.
I don't know, but hopefully he or she will write in again.
A lot of content. What is your auditing? Maybe.
Go ahead.
Maybe we're talking about like the life cycle of the content, maybe. Audit the accuracy. I see. That's a great question, actually. And it, unfortunately, part of the answer is it depends on the content, right? Because we're so big, we have different teams that work on different areas of content. So for instance, if we're talking about KBAs, knowledge-based articles or things that are in our knowledge database, then that would be just part of the life cycle of a KBA. Part of that is that the support engineers are constantly either making corrections or additions to the notes in KBAs, right? So they're just always being worked on. We can rate our KBAs. We let customers give thumbs up or thumbs down. So there are different mechanisms where somebody can come back and say, this isn't helpful or it's not right. So I would say that's sort of built into the process. But I would also say, when you look at other content, so product documentation is an example, for instance, that's managed by a different team, but that is audited by them. So, and I'm sure that they're using the same type of feedback from customers as they give it, right? So yeah, there's probably a very long answer that I could give you of all the content, but that's the general gist of it, I would say.
Okay, let's see if we can get some more questions. Come on, people, ask them questions. This is your chance. Hit the Q&A button and type your question in, please.
Let me just add one quick thing. I see it says, yes, explaining the life cycle is helpful. So, so part of my role is managing the public web pages for support. So not SAP for me, but the public site you hit before you get to SAP for me. And we have a lot of content on those pages that are about support. And so I'll mention that we actually have like a quality, like validation step for all of the content on a rolling basis. So we're always, it's super important to us that we have good information out there, because it's directly related to the quality of the search, right, for the customer. So we're always looking at that.
Okay, looks like maybe another one. Can users use the website app, which should be up your alley, without having a login? So that's a good question for you, Nicole, I think.
Yeah, SAP for me does require a login. So the site that we just looked at does require a login. There's our public view is at support.sap.com, which is going to look and feel like a regular website. That does not require a login. However, there is some information that's gated that will request a login, if you try to reach that information.
So here's a question for Albert. What is the single feature that makes you so jealous I don't know. They got pretty good red hat, but so I don't
That
know
was
if they're going to
me.
admit to being jealous. of
Steve,
anyone.
seriously,
That was from me.
it's the fact that everything is so well integrated. To be honest with you, Christine, I can go anywhere and manage anything about everything that I am as a customer. And I mean, I just really loved, and when you dig in a little bit more, a lot of it's cross-linked too. So it's very cool stuff. And that was probably my favorite thing, is that it's one spot. I'm not going to different websites to do different things. It's all there. I can do everything and like easily go between the tabs and say, oh, well, I got this error here. What does that mean? Just bam, go right up there to the knowledge base. It's right there. Everything's all in one place. That was the thing that struck me from the beginning and all the way through, was the integration.
I think you've been kind of hinting at this, but let me just ask a specific question because it came in. Is this interface only for paying customers, or is there an alternate experience for non-customers within this application? So the key part of that question, I think, is it within this application?
The SAP for me site is for paying customers.
Okay, I think that's pretty specific. Let's see if we can get some more. Come on, people. There's your last chance. You won't get to do this tomorrow. Well, not for these folks anyway. And I have to say, if somebody is actually making Red Hat jealous, they're in a league of their own.
You know, I'm
Red
never
Hat,
going
I
to live
think-
that down, right? I'm never going to live that statement down.
Well, it was your
That's right.
colleague that asked the question.
If it makes you feel any better, I've really loved reading the looking at the sites from last year. I mean, I think there's something that everybody does that someone else is going to really like, right?
Well, actually, a few years back, we gave Red Hat a special award just for all the sharing that they have done in their entries and essays.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
everybody has to put in a pretty detailed entry or essay. And as you know, there are a lot of questions you have to answer in there. But some people share a lot more. And I think if you actually went back several years, which you can do if you're a member of ASP, or you can actually purchase access to the reports we do every year, reading all of it, but particularly reading just the information from Red Hat would kind of be a tutorial on state-of-the-art in self-support, self-service websites. And you know, SAP, you're no slouch. I mean, you guys have won awards from us before, but in terms of the amount of sharing consistently, because Red Hat is in year after year after year. I've forgotten how many years you've been doing this. It's just, you know, I don't want to take it for granted that they're going to enter again next year, but it's certainly likely because they keep doing it.
Yeah.
And they've been very good at sharing information. And I think I get questions, how can we create a great website? And one of the things I tell people is just go read the Red Hat entries. You know, they'll tell you a lot about how to have a great website. But, you know, SAP, you're no slouch, and you scored very, very high. We don't release the rankings, but you were right up there. We had, I think, 3 companies that scored in that vicinity this year. We give awards to more than that, but 3 were kind of in the stratosphere. And we've seen scores are trending higher year after year. In fact, next year I will probably have to cut off the awards at a higher point because the scores are going up. You know, not, I would say, dramatically, but noticeably. And with all the new generational AI coming in right now, which we'll be talking about tomorrow, I expect that will have an impact on the scores. It may also require us to change the way that we judge sites. So we're looking at that. We changed it a few years ago. We try to keep up with what's going on and really maintain a state-of-the-art view for our judges. Let's see if we've got any. Oh, yeah, we do have at least another one. Any process hints for reviewing reviewing site changes with internal stakeholders?
I mean,
Go ahead,
maybe,
Ozzy.
yeah, just what I mentioned, what we established is actually a regular review with our stakeholders and with internal colleagues. We have bi-monthly reviews, right, where we present new stuff basically to our community, and quarterly calls where we talk about the latest and greatest that we have deployed, where we talk about customer feedback, where we share this information with our stakeholders, and where we outline next steps that we envision to develop based on the feedback that we have received. So continuous communication is key, I would say here.
Okay, thank you. Here's another question. You mentioned that you went through a migration for this application. What did the release process look like for customers? Did you have, hang on, I have to click on there. Have a planned incremental rollout, or was it really a one-time, one day deal? Was it incremental? I think fundamentally was what they're asking when you rolled it out.
Yeah, I would almost argue it was a little bit of both. We made SAP for Me available for customers early on, so that they could give us feedback and be part of the process a bit, let us know what they think. So if you were a customer, you could have started viewing SAP for Me basically earlier than we migrated the customers. So we were communicating with our customer base pretty regularly about what was coming. But there was a point then, so any one of them could have started using SAP for Me before the old system was gone. So I guess that's kind of, and we urged them to take a look and try it out, right? Different ways to try to get them in there as a choice, right? But then there came a day where the old system had to go away, had to be shut down, and we, at that point, told them they were going to start working in a new system in SAP for Me. So, but I think part of I think it was more successful because we had this period of time where they really could investigate the new system at their leisure, instead of just being forced over at one point altogether. So I don't know, Ozzy, if you have more to add to that.
Yeah, we planned this actually a year ahead, to be honest, right? We started with the communication, with introduction to our customers, presenting it in front of user groups, different types of customers circles, to the internal colleagues, the customer-facing colleagues, a lot of communication sessions, enablement sessions. They are talking about this topic, making it visible basically to our customers, and making it also tangible, because we provided a demos environment system, as well to them, so people could freely go to the system and just play around with it and get used to it and get familiar with it. And then we had certain dates, where we said, okay, date 1, we will make sure that a certain part of the old content is already integrated into the new environment and can be used only in the new environment. So we then, guided users from the old legacy systems to the new environment. And then at a certain point in time, we shut down the old one, basically, and then everybody going to still trying to access the legacy systems, they were automatically transferred to the new system, but always accompanied by a lot of communication, internal as external communication, even going to social media. We created also social media content where we pushed the new content and the change date, outside really with social media publications and different types of other publications as well. So overall, a big package really that we have created, put together, and over a period of approximately 6 to 9 months, things were in parallel, but really then bringing people already to the new environment. And we measured it, right? And we saw, okay, first month we have X number of users on the new platform. 3 months later, we had X plus users already on the new platform. And we saw that people moving step by step, little by little to the new platform. And at the end, the last 20% we got with the switch off of the old platform, basically, and asking them to move over.
Well, Nicole and Ozzy and Albert, thank you very much for sharing with us today. I'd like to ask you this